Hey there, welcome to this episode all about mute groups. Now, in the sample chopping episode, I showed you how to take a long melodic sample, slice it into sections, and then we have our chops laid out here by assigning them to our pads. Now, once we've done that, we need to apply a choke group or a mute group, and you'll hear it referred to as mute or choke, doesn't matter, it's the same thing, but it depends on the system, you know, the device that you're working on. Sometimes it's choke, sometimes it's mute. In this case, for the SP-404, they call them mute groups, and essentially what that allows us to do is give independence to our samples here. So as I play one sample and then I play another one, I want this to turn off the previous sample's playback so I can only play one sample at a time. And without the mute group applied, let's take a listen to our chops here. You can hear there that we can play them all at the same time and it's a bit of a jumbled mess. So we're going to use a mute group to sort that out. And we do that using mute groups here, which is Shift and Pad 8. It's going to open up our little mute group display here. And as I said, whether it's a mute group or a choke group, you will notice you generally get the same thing. Sometimes they are numbered as groups and sometimes it uses letters. On Koala Sampler, it's called a choke group and it uses 1, 2, 5 or 6, whatever it is. In here we get 10 choke groups, which is nice and handy. And the reason you have multiple choke groups is so, let's say you want some independence, you don't want your samples overlapping here for like your sample chops, but you've made something else within your project. Maybe you've got some drum sounds that are doing the same thing and they have some independence. If you set them to the same mute group, choke group, you're going to have problems because when I press my sample here, if I've got my drums in the same mute group, it's not going to allow me to play my drums at the same time because they're all linked. So, you know, we're keeping that independence across the board and we don't want that. We'll want to be able to add another mute group so that if we want some sample independence for the drums, we can do that, but it's not going to conflict with our sample chops. So keep that in mind as you go through. Let's go back into mute groups there for a second. To choose a mute group, it's just a case of using your push and enter button here to scroll along. I'm going to start with mute group A, and let's say I wanted to put my first 3 sample chops here into one group. I can just select them. You will notice they turn red and they start flashing. Now the reason they're flashing is because this is the current mute group that we have selected, so it lets me know that's where we are. And of course it's putting everything in the same color to make it easy to find them. Now if we wanted to put another couple of samples here into a different choke group, I could go to B, for example, and put those in here. And also bear in mind that you've got this little pad list here, which is giving another visual indicator of what is inside of your mute group. You'll notice they change to a different color, blue in this instance, and it's going to be the same every time you add another group in here. Nice and easy to tell what you've got in each group. If we go to group B, you'll notice they start flashing because that is the mute group that we have selected. So we want to take our samples out, we can just click them again, get rid of them. And for this example, that's what I'm going to do. We don't need 2 mute groups for this demonstration. I'm going to go back to mute group A and I'm going to put the rest of my sample chops in here. And then we're going to hit the exit button. Now let's take a listen to the samples. They now act exactly as we want them to, they don't overlap, and we can play these along with our beat and just do something really fun with it. So that is mute groups, nice and easy, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Take care.